I believe that that's a reasonable thing to do. Some in my party say that's against God's will. That's a matter of conscience.
Yeah.
I will go with my conscience. I'm sorry, folks.
Yeah.
That's the sort of thing that, how I make a decision. Is it morally wrong to me, or is it life-threatening? Then those are the two criteria I'll say, can't go there.
Yeah.
And you can, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Are you more willing to sacrifice your beliefs or popularity?
Well, that's the question you're dealing with every day. Every day, you're trying to balance that. And how do you know what popularity looks like? How well do I know the 42,000 people here that voted for me? I don't know them that well. I know maybe a dozen or 2 dozen people fairly well to know what their values are. So I don't know what's popular in some cases and what isn't. Obviously, some of the things I've been doing haven't been very popular because the Liberals are now down to 1 seat. And I have to take some responsibility for that. I'm the leader. So I guess in principle, I'll go with my beliefs and my values. But on certain issues, I'll have to compromise. If I want to see a party get bigger, I have to decide, is this important enough to fight and to go against? Or will I win more friends and popular support so that our party can get into power and do something good for people?
Yeah.
That is the big dilemma in politics. How much around values, how much around popularity?
Yeah.
And that's why politics is so difficult and why so many people don't want anything to do with it. They don't want to be put in that tension. But we have to do that. I mean, if we're going to make decisions, we have to wrestle with these issues.
Mm-hmm.
And we can't reject everything that just because it doesn't agree with us. We have to find some common ground.
Yeah.
And compromise a little bit. Hopefully each side compromises a little bit to get a better decision for everybody. Minimum wage. You know, the minimum wage is going up. Some of us feel that yes, it should go up, but it should take 3 years instead of 1 year to go up to the $15 because it's hurting the small businesses. Others feel that no, people are in poverty. They need reasonable wage. So what do you do with that? You have to make a decision and rationalize it at some level. And, well, if we go halfway, we're going to get more votes here, and we're going to satisfy some people over here, and you find a compromise.
Yeah.
Essentially.
So like everyone kind of wins.
And you're making those decisions every day in your life.
Yeah.
Am I going to park here and risk getting a ticket, or am I going to go 3 blocks away and park and have all the way back? Or, I don't know. Every day we're making decisions.
Yeah.
There's some risk, there's some benefit. What's honest, what's dishonest? Those kind of questions. How important is it? How unimportant is it?
Has there been times during your leadership where you've sacrificed yourself too much?
Oh yeah, I think so.
Your values?
I wish I had been stronger on issues around taxation, issues around climate. But if you push too far, too fast, the public says, you're out of it. We think you're going too far, too fast. You're going to cost us too much money. For what? And on other issues, maybe I was too strong in going for something that most people didn't think was that important.
Yeah.
Or the reverse, I guess. I wasn't strong enough on pushing, harm reduction centers for addicts. I wasn't strong enough, so we don't have any in Calgary. And many of these people are suffering now, dying because I was too soft on the government instead of demanding and going public and showing the evidence. So it's every day there are things that come up that you're kind of wrestling with. How far, how much, how important, how much cost, for how much benefit, what's the research, what's the popularity.
Yeah.
You're balancing these things all the time.
Do you ever feel like you're hard on yourself?
Well, yeah, I lose a lot of sleep doing this, but I think some things are worth losing sleep over. You know, if nobody loses sleep over anything, what are we actually going to improve? Because the status quo isn't good enough. Just keeping things the way they are is not working for many, many people. It's not working. working for our environment. It's not working for the growing number of people who are depressed and anxious and in poverty. Not working for our First Nations people who are not getting a share of success in their lives. So if I don't lose sleep over some of that, then I don't think I'm doing my job. I have to be hard on myself to some extent if we're going to actually see changes.
Yeah.
And to criticize somebody, I find hard. I'm not a critic, but I have to do that if I want to push the system. And the media won't be interested in me if I'm just going along anyway. So I need the media to tell my story so our party can get better, and I need the government to feel the heat of criticism so that they will feel, oh, I guess we're going to have to do something. Swann continues to criticize our lack of action on First Nations care. We better do something, or he's going to keep haranguing us and people are not going to vote for us. So that's the kind of balance I'm facing every day. And that means losing sleep, means feeling anxious, being at times hard on myself. Times I'm maybe not hard enough on myself.
Yeah.
And that's where we need a good caucus or a good team around us to say, I think you're too hard on yourself here. Or I think we need to push harder on this issue. And then we have that discussion, and I don't make decisions alone. That's really hard if you're trying to make decisions all on your own. You've got a team around you and saying, well, there's this side of it, there's this side of it, there's the evidence, there's a political cost if you go too far this way. Here's the middle ground that we think we're comfortable with. And as a liberal, we're kind of in the middle, aren't we? We're not too far left, we're not too far right in terms of our belief systems. So we're constantly trying to find the best of both sides.
Yeah.
Generally, that's why I find the liberal side the place to be. That's where I'm comfortable. People say we're wishy-washy. They never know whether we're going to vote this way or this way. If it's a conservative, they know they're going to vote this way.
Yeah.
No taxes, small government, reduced services, more efficient services. On this side, more money, more taxes, more services, more government control. Well, sometimes yes, sometimes no. I'm sorry. I'm not going to say.
Yeah.
And that's part of why some people don't like liberals, because they say, we never know how you're going to vote. You're just wishy-washy. You don't have any philosophy. Well, we do have a philosophy. It's balancing the public and the private good, the short-term interest and the long-term interest. We can't have everything this year and expect to leave anything good for our future. And we can't give everything to the private sector, or the public sector doesn't have the resources it needs. So that is the political conundrum that we wrestle with every day. And the liberals are right in the middle of that, because we don't have an ideology as such, except for fairness and freedom and progressive values around differences that people have. And that's part of why some people like us and some people hate us.
Yeah, that's fair. Can't please everyone.
No.
Can't please everyone. Yeah.
And you find that out in a hurry in politics.
Yeah.
As soon as you open your mouth, somebody says, thank you for saying that. And somebody says, you're ridiculous. And you gotta be prepared to deal with that.
Yeah.
If you're wanting to be part of the solutions. I mean, that's the thing about free speech. You get both.
That's fair. I just want to look at the time here.
The time is 3:05.
Okay. Do you have like a meeting at 3 or something? I know your secretary came here.
I do. Yeah, this is that Oregon student
Oh, damn.
that wants to talk about
Okay. Am I cutting into his time, or you?
a little bit.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'll wrap it up pretty soon here, but keep it quick. Do you have any advice for, or if you could talk to the 22-year-old Dr. Swann, what would you tell him?
Continue to be thoughtful, read, look at the evidence, listen to people, think about the long term as well as the short term good of our world,
Yeah.
and stay involved, be involved. It's going to cost you something, but ultimately you're going to have a more satisfying and meaningful life. don't shy away from being a citizen as well as a professional. Many of the doctors I know don't want anything to do with this stuff. They just want to be a good professional, they're doing a good job, they're helping people, but we have another side of us called citizenship. We are not involved in the citizenship responsibilities and our democratic responsibilities, and people look to us for some leadership as trained, educated people, then we are failing our society. We're leaving the political, the citizenship side of it to people who may or may not have good values, may or may not have good education, may or may not have the best interests of our planet at heart. So professionals have a responsibility to be citizens as well as trained experts in some area. I say the same to engineers, I say the same to teachers, whoever, whatever you decide to do, you have a second responsibility to your community. You not only have to vote, you have to be involved in the issues, and you have to research issues, and you have to help educate a population that is totally distracted with other things. Very few people are paying attention to politics. Very dangerous when that happens.
Yeah, that's true.
And we have to be part of raising the awareness and challenging people to get more involved in the political process. Have you been involved in Mount Royal Council?
I was thinking about it.
That's a good way to start.
Yeah.
That's a good way to find out what this all is about.
Yeah.
You immediately make friends and enemies. You immediately have to deal with issues. You immediately have to stand up for something. And you realize how fragile that whole popularity thing is. And if you can't be true to yourself, who can? Who can help you to be the person you're meant to be, in other words?
Yeah.
And politics helps you to become the person that you want to aspire to. It turns some people off, and they never want to be involved again because they have a painful experience, perhaps.
Yeah.
I say, suck it up. This is life. If I was to write a book, it would be Life is Political. Get over it.
What would be the title?
That would be the title. Life is Political. Get over it. Because I didn't want to get into politics. I didn't want the stress and strain or conflict or whatever you imagine it to be. Now that I'm in it for 12 years, I realize it's not as much conflict as you might think. It's common sense, a lot of what we do. We have researchers, we have communications people that help us with the messages. So, pluck up courage. Say and be part of a civil society that is honestly wrestling with some serious issues.
Yeah.
And if you're not honestly and seriously doing that, you're abdicating your responsibility as an adult, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. Okay, well, one last question, I just came up with this just now. What does being a man mean to you?
It means learning how to love and to be loved. It means standing for something besides yourself, besides your own interests. It means thinking about the longer term as well as the short term. It means respect for all life, including and especially women. It means being a lifelong student, learner of myself, of others, of what's important. It means competing at some level, but cooperating at other levels, and recognizing the difference between having to win and be right all the time versus learning to work together with other people to get good things to result. If I win by beating up somebody else, long term isn't going to be that successful for whether it's intellectually beating them up and showing them how stupid they are, or whether it's physically beating them on the sports court. I used to be a basketball player. Either way, you need to define what is worth competing about and what is the importance of cooperating and finding some common ground of getting some progress on X, Y, or Z. That's being a man.
Thank you.
Hey, that's great.